it's a plasma ball. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
plasma.
what it is. And I always tell people, it's like, you remember in the mid 80s where at Spencer's Gifts where you had these gigantic things that look like lightning bolts? It's like, that's what it's going to look like, but it's going to be under your skin. All right, let's talk Renuvion. So this is something that we both have. I actually had it done on me, which is why I have the machine. Tested it out first. That's how I figured out that I wanted to get it. And then you didn't have Renuvion during your procedure, but you have it and believe in the tech. Yeah, Dr. Garlick said that you couldn't have it.
I did ask him. Well, there is a new FDA approved device called Quantum, which is by InMode. That it's actually a thermal based skin contracture device similar to Renuvion, but doesn't use helium radiofrequency. So that's why he didn't want to use the Renuvion on me, because he wanted to use that, and then he ended up not being able to. They didn't ship the hand pieces in time. Anyway,
unfortunately.
I love Renuvion. I am a speaker and stuff for them, so just full disclosure. But I've been using it for pretty much. So one of the surgeons in our center, when I was opening my practice in 2020, he had bought, I think, the first Renuvion in Utah. And so, he wasn't using it all the time. So I started using it here and there. And I really liked it. I really liked what it could do for the arms. And I think it's been revolutionary for certain areas on the body that I think before, even when I was in training, we'd have to cut that stuff out. I remember we did so many brachioplasties on the arms because, even if it was just a mild amount of loose skin and fat, nothing we could do. We had to just cut it out. Now with Renuvion, and you combine it even sometimes with Vaser and obviously liposuction, I really think the arms are a great place to treat. And I've gotten pretty aggressive on these where, you almost will look and say, I think they need brachioplasty. And I've been so surprised that actually it will just contract right up, looks beautiful, and patients are super happy. So you do get the secondary contraction with the Renuvion because of it uses a helium gas combined with radiofrequency to create that purple plasma energy, kind of like the purple behind me. And it looks really cool. Remember those globes that you put your hands on and the Tesla
it's a plasma ball. I mean, that's what it is. And I always tell people, it's like, you remember in the mid 80s where at Spencer's Gifts where you had these gigantic things that look like lightning bolts? It's like, that's what it's going to look like, but it's going to be under your skin.
Yeah. And it heats up the tissue, to a very specific, whatever it is, 82 degrees Celsius. So it gets really high pretty quickly and then decreases. So the heat time is very short, but it's enough to stimulate the collagen production, the elastin production, elastin production. And then that secondarily causes the contracture. And, and anytime I talk about it, and I've talked about Renuvion, it's like, you can't say that it's skin tightening. It has to be contraction, coagulation, and then contraction secondarily, or whatever, I don't know.
We know it works. That's what's important. I think that arms are a big one, absolutely, because having a brachioplasty scar is brutal. I think that the people that I do full-on brachioplasties for are just the massive weight loss patients who have just a foot of skin. There's no way that's going to magically disappear. But I think that there's also a space to be able to use it in kind of hybrid procedures. So you have a brachioplasty, we're doing a large incision. You have minimally invasive where you just are doing liposuction and then Renuvion for it. But doing a hybrid procedure where you're doing when you're doing incision in the armpit, the short scar that was, a surgery that we came up with to try to get away from the large brachioplasty, but we found out it's not that effective other than this kind of portion that's usually pretty lax. But doing lipo, doing a short scar, and doing Renuvion for people who are that kind of middle of the road, we were like, oh, I don't want to have to do a full brachioplasty for them. We can get them what is going to be best by using those two kind of technologies together, I think is a really functional result for people who are not a candidate just for the minimally invasive result. But upper arms, absolutely. The neck, I think, is a great one. I'm like, if this wasn't hidden by a beard, I would have already had one of my partners do it. It's like,
the neck is
great.
It's
like I would love to have that tightened up, but I think that one is huge because when you think about what was available prior, you're like, okay, well, we can do a neck lift. We can make an incision here and tighten up things, but we can't get rid of any skin. And if you need to get rid of skin, then you need a facelift, or you have to do, RF microneedling, which is only going to work so much. But it's nice to give folks another option for that. I think upper back bra roll is a big one as well.
I love the back. I tell patients, and I do a lot of full back lipo. Anytime we're doing a mommy makeover, takeover, 360 lipo, Renuvion, because I tell them, look, I can get a lot more fat out because you get so much contraction with just regular liposuction. The skin will naturally have a little contraction to it. But if you are pretty aggressive with the liposuction, and then now you're just mostly skin, that skin's going to want to drape down and hang. And I've seen it where patients have actually had almost more skin folds after because you remove too much fat. So I really tell patients we got to shrink wrap that down, and the Renuvion helps us do that. As soon as we liposuction the back, it's just like shrink wrap. And I'll show them photos, and they're like, oh yeah, I definitely want that. Because you get rid of those lines I was mentioning earlier with the Vaser, you reduce the volume, and you just get crazy contours through the whole back, and I think the Renuvion's great for that. I think the inner thighs is another really good area, because that skin there is very thin. It's very similar to the arms in terms of its thickness. And again, you kind of talk about inner thigh, like medial thigh-plasty, short scar. Again, they have different versions of that. But I do think in the right candidates, we can get a little bit more fat out and a little bit more tightening without needing a scar. So I think it does just kind of open up the window for more patients to not have a big old scar.